Good evening and welcome to the school board meeting. We will get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could rise, we'll recite.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We've got a couple sets of minutes we need to approve, so I will get started with the taking a motion for the January 9th public and non-public meeting minutes. Yep, all right, sorry. We'll take a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes from January 9th.
Motion to approve.
First by Kearney. Second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the public meeting minutes from January 9th.
Motion to approve.
First by Kearney. Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I will now entertain a motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes from January 16th.
Motion to approve.
First by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay, we have, the motion passes 6-0-1. I will now entertain a motion to accept the public meeting minutes from January 16th.
Motion to approve.
First by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And an abstention? All right, 6-0-1 again. And now the January 30th meeting minutes, I will accept a motion to accept the non-public meeting minutes from January 30th.
Motion to approve.
First by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And lastly, I will take a motion to accept the January 30th public meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
First by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. There we go. We're done with that stuff. So now I will introduce, we have a presentation from Gilbert H. Hood. So I believe we have Ms. Carpentino, and it looks like you may have another guest. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Carpentino from Gilbert H. Hood Middle School, and I brought a few people with me here today. So I have brought Lori Fleming, my school nurse, and Steph Gustafson. She's a science teacher, but she also works with me very closely on some emergency management stuff, which is what we're going to talk about. But first, we're going to give you our award for today, and I'm going to let Lori Fleming do the talking for our awards that we're going to give today. So I'm going to have Lori do her talking.
Hello. A school nurse can't be everywhere at once, and we've had 2 occasions this year within 1 week of students choking with staff members who were trained to do the Heimlich maneuver and did so successfully. In the United States, the last data I had was from 2021, where over 5,300 people died from choking. And I think we can all agree that if one of our students were to pass away from this, it would be terrible, and we would all be heartbroken. I'm thankful to work with so many wonderful staff who have gone through CPR and first aid training, and we have one I would like to recognize tonight that is here. His name is Derek Gustafson. And Derek, can you come on up? I worked with Derek for 17 years, and he has gone through first aid and CPR training as a sports coach. In his classroom this year, he had a student who was sucking on a piece of hard candy and choked, and he was alerted by another student right away, and he successfully did the Heimlich maneuver. Saw that the student got to the nurse's office. We were able to ascertain that the student was fine. We did call the parents, had them follow up with their doctor, all of that. But a nurse can't be everywhere at once, and I'm just really thankful. The other situation was in the same week in the dining hall, and we had an assistant that noticed a student at the table was choking, and did the Heimlich maneuver. And it really, it's successful about 86% of the time. We're just really grateful that both occasions were successful. It did take her, it was difficult with the one down at the dining hall. So I just want to tell you about that and congratulate Derek. The students were hugging him and saying thank you.
Right.
The parents were very thankful, and just really grateful to have great staff to work with.
Great job, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we have a certificate. I will mention Katrina Lisi was the other
Yes.
employee, and she is now the secretary at our Derry Early Education Program. She had a commitment tonight and was not able to make it. And I will read the certificate that they're basically the same except for specifics of when it occurred and of course the person. So, Certificate of Recognition, Heroism Award on the 13th day of February 2024 in recognition of your life-saving efforts in which you performed the Heimlich maneuver on a student who was choking. Derek Gustafson, your courage, compassion, and care for the safety and well-being of students and your school community are commendable. Thank you so much. Come on, Miss Carpentino. Jump right in there.
Awesome. And take two.
Miss Fleming. Congratulations.
Thank you. So it is really a crazy thing that you can be in your career and then have this happen in front of your eyes. And we know that Lori Fleming has performed it many, many times. And it is, you're used to it maybe as a nurse, but as a teacher or as an administrator, I think it's scary. So it's very grateful that these people can do it. And grateful for the training that we give coaches and staff and things like that. So we're going to move on to, this is actually just segues really nicely into talking about some emergency management stuff. So, which really made us think about what presentation we were going to do here for the school board. So as you can see, we did not bring students here today, and that's strategically planned today because I really felt like this was an opportunity that would be lost if we did not jump into talking about some emergency information that I think is really important for not only school board members to understand, but also the public that might be watching us tonight. So what we're going to talk about for Gilbert H. Hood Middle School and safety and emergency management stuff is not special to Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. All of the district schools operate in this manner. So even though we might be saying some Gilbert H. Hood Middle School words, just think about it as any school in the district and this operational information. So I don't think I have to talk directly into that mic like that, so I'm going to step back a little bit and talk a little louder. Maybe turn it this way a little bit. All right. So that was we really wanted to highlight some emergency management information for the school district. We didn't want to lose sight of the fact that we have these stakeholders in the town, parents and the like, and you guys to talk about this emergency information that we have going on. So let me just get to our presentation. Oh, I'm not going to turn it from this.
No. Are we going to turn it
it's
from
this
this
one.
one?
Cliff. How am I going to get to my next slide?
I think you have to click on the
Oh, this one?
There we go. There we go. So one of the things that has happened in all schools really across the country, but we're going to talk about it in terms of us, is we all operate with what we call the incident command we all operate with this incident command management system. Can you change that one too, Steph? Do you mind? This one.
Oh, what?
Sorry, I got it. We all operate using the incident command system. So the incident command system is a management system that shows us exactly what to do to manage an emergency. It is a task-oriented management system. It is used by fire, police, military, and what that does is it helps us understand all the tasks that we need to operate with. So in your pink packet that you have right there, I gave you a real rudimentary system chart that shows you just basics of incident command system. I'm not going to go over this really, but it's for you just to reference in the future. If you have any questions or you really want dialogue with this, I love talking about emergency management stuff. You can always set up a meeting with me. It's something I can talk about for hours. And you can ask these guys right here because it's something I love to talk about. It has clear established roles. So one thing that happens in a school system, in a town, in a school, is that the principal has people coming at you from all kinds of angles. Everybody has access to you all the time. When you have an emergency, you can't have that. You have to have this certain system that says certain people will come and ask you questions and everybody else is going to ask certain people questions. So everybody has certain roles they have to do and everybody stays within their job and their roles. And so there's a flow chart that tells you who's going to go to who for which questions, so that nobody gets really inundated too much with people coming at you from all these angles. And that's super important in a crisis, in an emergency, because if you get overwhelmed with too much coming at you, you cannot manage an emergency very well. So a principal or incident commander is supposed to look at the entire picture, and then everybody else has jobs that they're supposed to do after that. So, like I said, I'm not going to go over specific details about the incident command system, but I would love to talk to anybody about it if they have questions. What we're going to do now is go into all of the drills that we do with students in the schools. So Steph is going to start there. So Steph Gustafson, for those that don't know her, I think a lot of the people over here know her. She's a science teacher in the building, but has been doing emergency management planning for our Gilbert H. Hood Middle School for years now. So she worked with me when I was an assistant principal there, and then when I went to East Derry, she just took on that role. So then when I stepped back into the role at Gilbert H. Hood Middle School as a principal, I didn't need to do all that work because now she's well-versed in it and still does a lot of all of that management stuff and the drills and works with the staff. So she's learned so much over all these years that I just let her go. And so she does a ton of this. So she's going to talk about the drills that we do.
You're talking about this one first.
Oh, I'm going to talk about this one. So this is one of the first drills that I'm going to talk about, which is called Secure Campus. So Secure Campus is the security piece that we put in place if you are protecting your school from any outside threats. So I think about it in terms of, say Pinkerton is having a situation that is going on at Pinkerton. Now it's not impacting me at Gilbert H. Hood yet, but it might. So I'm just gonna close the building down in the sense of we're going to still operate, we're going to still teach, we're going to do our jobs on the inside of the building, but I'm not going to let anybody outside the building. If somebody's going to come in and want to take their children out, I'm going to really carefully monitor those people coming in and out of the building from the front of the building. But I'm not going to take PE classes outside. I'm not going to let children take the route of going outside and walking outside the building into the lunchrooms. I'm going to keep everybody inside. So that's your secure campus. You're keeping everybody inside. So it's not that I have a direct threat going on inside the building, but I'm securing my building from anybody going outside. I might have people stationed at doors to watch particular doors because I have a really big building. So I might put people certain places so I'm making sure that nobody's going outside. If I have delivery trucks bringing in milk or something, I'm going to watch those doors particularly because I want to make sure that my campus is staying really, really, really secure. I mean, we have our doors locked all the time, but I want to make sure that we're really paying attention to all our doors. And I want to make sure I'm watching the field. So I'm paying attention to really closely to things outside. And I'm making sure I'm keeping in contact with the SAU more often and keeping in contact with any local authorities that are calling us. So that's really what we do during Secure Campus. So now Steph's going to take it from here.
Let's see if I can actually manage two different computers. All right. Oh, Lori, this is actually you.
Sorry.
Yeah. We're smooth running operation here.
Okay, we utilize clear hallways for a couple of reasons. One of the bigger ones is medical emergencies. I'm sure you're aware that there are times that we have things that happen in our building that we have to call 911 and have them come. And especially in, I don't know how it works in elementary, but especially in middle school, when you have so many people changing classes, you can't have people in the hallways when something's going on. And of course, they're all curious, so they want to know. So what we do is we call for clear hallways, and the students stay put until we get through that medical emergency. And it's usually a matter of 10 or 15 minutes. But we might also use clear hallways when we have a student who is tantruming or a little out of control, just for the safety of the student, for the safety of other students, but also for the dignity of the student who's really struggling at that point. And so we might use clear hallways for that reason. It could also happen if we have an angry adult in the building. Do I need to do? Okay. And because we're talking about emergency stuff, and we had the wonderful example from the two people who did the Heimlich, I also wanted to let you know, I don't remember how many years ago it was, but the PTAs all participated in buying each school an AED, and Gilbert H. Hood, because it was the biggest one, got 2. And then the superintendent's office also made sure we got the boxes to put them in that are connected to the superintendent's office, the police, and the fire department. So it becomes a little iffy if a student accidentally opens it, because everybody comes running. But we've had pretty good luck with that. But it is in places that are easily accessible by the gyms, and Hood has one up by the main office, because our buildings are pretty separated out at Hood. And so in those AEDs is everything that you need it's an automated external defibrillator, which means somebody can take that and put leads on the person, and it will tell you easily whether to shock somebody or not. And you push a button and it shocks, and defibrillators save lives. The sooner you can get them to work on the person, the better chance that the person has to survive whatever's going on. So I wanted to thank the PTA for that. We have been utilizing those for years, and it's, also if the public uses the buildings, they're available to the public as well.
So I just want to say a couple words about Lori, that she does do a lot of the emergency stuff with us here at school as well, and is part of our emergency team. So I introduced Steph before I introduced Lori, so now I'm introducing Lori now that she's just finished. So here comes Steph.
All right. Hello. As a teacher, I've been at Hood for 24 years, and probably 20, yes, old. So about 20 years I have been involved in the emergency management. I don't know if like is the right word. I enjoy the component of it. I think it allows us to give responsibility to our students. And I think that's a lot of my job, is when I am working with my students on these drills or explaining them why we do variety of exercises, why we do them. One piece that we have to train the kids not to do is to be nice and open the door when people are coming inside from the outdoors. All of our doors are locked, and they see someone coming in, they want to be nice and just open the door for them. They can't. They need to come in through the main entrance, et cetera, be buzzed in. So we are trying to instill practices in them, but at the same time, not worry them, and be scared all the time. So just being aware of their surroundings. Probably one of the primary drills that we do are fire drill evacuations. The state does have laws that require us to do at least 6 fire evacuation drills, 4 other hazard drills throughout the school year. It seems a little excessive at times, but the idea that practice makes perfect, it will become rote, they won't have to think about it, is, I think, the key takeaway from that. Early in the year, I think we tend to tell the students and staff that these are going on, so there isn't that anxiety, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then throughout the year, they become a lot more comfortable with them. We may have a different goal in mind. We may block an exit and say, now what? We can't get out that exit. What do we do? Or I might grab a kiddo and have them stay with me, and hopefully someone notices that they're missing. They always do. So that is a good thing. So the fire drill evacuations are numerous, and we also do some drills for our run, hide, fight, which is if we have an armed intruder, which is unfortunate that we need to think about that in this day and age. There's arrow. Oh, yes. Reverse evacuations is when we're actually better off inside the building. We've had a couple instances where we've had a moose on the loose or a bobcat in the area, and I know all of my students want to go out and let's go pet it. We can't do that. So we need to go inside. We need to get inside. A lot of times this might happen at the elementary level where they're outside at the playground a lot more than we are at the middle school level. Maybe it's a sudden weather, sudden downpour, they've got to get inside, or even just, that safe campus, secure campus if something in the surrounding area. So making sure we get in and everybody is accounted for there as well. All right, we've got drop, cover, and hide. I think we've all done those drills at some point in our life. Earthquake, tornadoes, and hurricanes tend to be a little bit rare here in New Hampshire, at least the extreme ones do. But another key component is making sure the students realize why we're doing them. We don't want debris falling on our heads, etc. We do have something called the Great American Shakeout that we do each year. This is practiced on October 21st, and schools all across the country do it, and trying to bring attention to that and making sure that they can find a safe space and not get debris on them. Threat assessment, this is always the first step. This is, I continue to say, unfortunately, something that is in the news far too frequently. If we have a threat, what do we do? And our first step is always trying to contacting the Derry Police Department, but then also trying to assess what the threat is. We're trying to give them information. They're trying to help and consult with us and communicate with us. We know our building the best. We can scan and see what looks familiar, what is unfamiliar, all while trying to keep our students calm. But that continual communication is of the utmost importance with the Derry Police Department. And these threat levels can change as the emergency situations can change. So Code Red is our armed intruder run, hide, fight practice. It is fluid. It is often the result of what we do or the decision of what we do in that situation is often dependent on where we are in the building. If we have a threat down by the gymnasium, the new wing may decide to run or vice versa. So it is constantly evolving. The run, hide, fight practices that we train with our students and staff, it does always provide those next steps. What then? Accounting, rally points, safe location. And we go over these things with our students frequently as we practice these components. And then when the emergency's over,
Okay.
we get.
So this is the big part of it that families, I think, worry about the most, is the reunification. So there are a lot of procedures that are involved with reunifying families and their students and the accountability part for that. So when I'm going to go to the next one. What people need to know about reunification is if there's a big major emergency that happens in any of these schools, our phone lines are going to be incredibly backed up. So people are going to try to call, and they're not necessarily going to get through. Your best thing to do is wait for us to send those alerts out. We're going to try to send those alerts out as timely as we can. Text, phone calls, email. It probably will go out in all different ways to everybody. What is going on so that people can be alerted to what is happening. I know the initial response for everybody will be like, get in your car and drive right to the school. And it probably is going to likely happen. However, when that happens, those roads are going to be backed up. So people are going to have to realize you're going to be driving to the school and you're probably not going to be able to get to the school. So you need to still be aware that alerts are going to happen. Some of the roads may even be blocked off, depending on how the time it takes for the emergency to occur and the town to respond. So you might find roads are blocked off by the police, and you might not be able to get all the way to the school. So you need to be aware that we could be evacuating the school to another location. So we may be telling you, meet us or meet your children, or we'll reunify you with your children at Pinkerton, or we might be reunifying you with your child at West Runningbrook. So those are the kinds of alerts that go out. So we're not trying to alarm anybody, but we just want to make sure we're arming people with the thought process that there could be something that you need to wait for and realize that you might not be able to get through to the school by phone, and you might have to wait for an alert to come to you. We are taking care of the kids at school the best way we can. So if you drive to the school, the roads could be backed up, so people have to be patient. When you come to pick up your child for any kind of reunification, you should bring a picture ID. That is super important, bring a picture ID. If you're sending somebody that's on your emergency information in our PowerSchool system, they need to bring a picture ID. So we were not going to release any students to people without picture ID, so people have to bring their IDs. And we're going to have a process of signing children out. So one other thing that's super helpful when we sign kids out, part of the signing out process and part of the form that we have is to find out where you are headed. And I know that sounds like a weird question, but before I came to Derry and I worked in Hudson, and this is when I got involved with emergency management, and this is like 25 years ago, we were releasing kids, just releasing kids because we had 11 bomb threats in like 2 weeks. So we were releasing kids. Well, one of the things that happened to us is we released kids left and right. A father picked up the child, took the child to their work, and then the mother came. And we had no child. We thought maybe the child went home on the bus. We didn't know because we didn't ask that question. We didn't know where the child went. We spent half the day looking for the child, looking at people in cars, driving down the roads, going to bus stops. People were in a panic to find out that the father had taken the child to his work, but the mom couldn't get through the father. It was really a panic situation. We don't want to go through that. So through that process and through a lot of schools reunifying with their families, realize that one of the important questions is, where are you going? Are you going home? Okay, great. We write that down because if another family member happens to show up, we want to be able to say, your husband picked your child up and went to work. Your wife picked the child up and went to her house. Your ex-wife picked your child up and went to her apartment. We want to be able to say those things so that we at least can report those things so that people aren't panicked when they come and the child's not there. So it might seem like we're asking questions that aren't important, but they are important to somebody that shows back up. Another thing that happens is people think people are on their forms to pick up their children for emergencies, and they're not. So that brings us to your annual PowerSchool. PowerSchool, we ask you every year to annually update your PowerSchool account, especially your phone numbers and your emergency contacts. Those should be updated. Well, your whole thing should be updated every year. But those are super important because if your neighbor has moved, but you put your neighbor on as a contact when you were in 2nd grade and now it's 6th grade and that neighbor's not here anymore, you've got to update those things. If you've had a falling out with somebody, we need to change those. So we have updated information for emergency contacts. Or what ends up happening is in emergencies, you send your aunt or your sister, but you never put them on there. We can't release to people if we don't have them on there. So you need to be thinking every year, here's my life right now, 2024. Who is my emergency contact for my children in 2024? Which might be different than 2028. So you've got to think like that every year. What has changed in my life? Who is my emergency contact now? It might be the same for all 12 years, but it might not be. So you need to be thinking to change those, and those are super important. Phone numbers that change are super important to fix. So the last thing that we want to show you is a few years ago we did our run, hide, fight drill video, and we just want to share that with you so that it kind of gets out there in the public. It was done by Dave Minkle when he was here. The only other thing I want to point out to the school board members is in your packet is our release information, so you can see kind of procedurally what we do. But we do have, every school has, and the district has, a whole binder of emergency management drill information here. So if you ever want to look at this and go through it, we can certainly sit down for hours to go through this. But there is a video for a run, hide, fight drill that we want to just share with you so you get a chance to see what this looks like. This is something we show the kids every year in the middle school, and this is what we use for training for kids and staff. And this is the last part of our presentation, so hopefully it's getting out there to the public to understand things that we do, and I think it's good information for everybody to know.
It's not tested, so.
And maybe it might not work.
It looks like it's thinking. See, it's only got a little bit of.
Yeah.
All right, well, if we think it's going to think for too long, we can
Yeah, I don't think it's.
forego it.
It's fine.
I think you guys have enough information. Certainly, if you want to see this video, come and see me. Certainly, if you want to talk about this. So thank you very much. I know this is not our usual presentation that we would do with bringing kids and showing something, but I do think it's important information. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so might have been about a month ago or so. I have a son in Pinkerton, and we got a notice saying there was some sort of incident near the campus. Did you guys have to do secure campus during that time?
They did not ask us to do a secure campus, although we knew about that, so we were alert.
I just want to say thank you guys for all of the work you do. This is one of the most important things that we can do is keep our kids safe when they're in school. So I am internally grateful for all of the work that you guys put in on this, and it shows. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. Normally, we would move on to a Pinkerton Academy update, but I believe Anthony is out celebrating his birthday. So if you're watching this, which I hope you're not on your birthday, but if you're watching this later, happy birthday to you. I hope you enjoy time with your friends and your family. So we will move on to delegates and individuals. So this is the portion of the meeting where any residents of Derry can come up. They get 3 minutes to speak about any school-related topics. And yeah, so if anyone here wants to approach the microphone, come on up.
Catherine DeLay, 39 South Main Street. Just wondering if we know when the final redistricting plan will be ready. When you go to the website, it still says it's not exact and don't count on this. So when will we know what that looks like?
Is that your only question?
It's one of my questions.
Okay, so that might be a question the administration can answer here in a minute. But if you have other questions or comments, we want to make sure you have all your time.
Sure. Also wondering, have we figured out, I know there was a lot of questions asked at the deliberative session about final numbers for teachers and what that looks like. Has that been determined? I haven't seen any follow-up to that. So those would be my 2 questions.
Yeah, again, I don't think anyone on the board has the answer to those questions, but,
Okay.
okay. Anyone else? Or actually, if Joe or Austin, if you guys are able to answer that question tonight, otherwise we can try and answer it at the next meeting. If you guys have an answer, sure, yeah, if you guys are comfortable with it.
So the second question, I think I understand a little bit more. Final numbers for teachers, I assume that means teacher assignments. Okay, so we did preliminary assignments for teachers in November. We updated those assignments in January, but they're still preliminary because the election hasn't happened yet, so we don't have an approved budget. So typically in a I hate to use the term normal year because I don't know what's normal anymore, but in the past, we wouldn't ever really talk about these things until March and April, because we don't have an approved budget. This year, we kind of went out of order just because we knew there was a lot of anxiety and nervousness about the changes. So final staff assignments will come out likely in April. Our HR person's not here right now, but there's a state law that April 15th is a cut point where you have to notify teachers of their whether or not they'll be renewed to their positions. So the board typically approves staff nominations, teacher nominations in early April. Does that sound right to you guys? And then letters go out to staff members. So that's, to answer your question about when it becomes finalized, that's when it becomes finalized. Each of our, at our last school board meeting in our restructuring update, we did give an update about teachers in terms of the numbers of unassigned staff. So at our last meeting, since our reassignment of people because of positions becoming open, we have four teachers that are not assigned currently. So I didn't know if that was a number that was helpful. First question was, when will the redistricting plan be finalized? Is a little less, I'm not 100% sure what you're asking for, but because of.
Do you know what schools our children are going to under your plan?
Got it, okay. So under that plan, that information, it has been finalized, the residency zones for elementary schools. So all of those decisions have been finalized. So we do have that blue map it's up on our website. It's schools.
And it says on there, don't count on this, basically.
Oh.
The message that pops up says this is not guaranteed.
Okay.
So that's where my concern is. So, I mean, why is that there if you're saying that's how the.
There is a petition. You might want to make.
I guess I'll have to find out where it says don't count on this. I want to look and see what you're talking about. You said it's on the maps for next year?
When you click on there, it pops up and says, these assignments are not guaranteed.
Okay, I'll double check. All right. Yeah. So, do you want to say that?
Hi, Jenna Paradise, Hubbard Hill Road. I had a quick question. So at the deliberative session, they had the 2 warrant articles, and the one for to ask for the funds for the new school, and then there's the other ones to ask for the funds for the capital improvement. In a perfect world, it'd be great if we got approval for both so we could fix everything and build a new school. If you find that the majority of taxpayers that come out vote against the new school, but then hopefully vote for the capital improvement fund, do you believe, or is there a plan, does the new school get permanently kicked out of possibility, or does it just get put on a back burner until at some point the taxpayers are willing to pay for it?
Yeah, I'm not sure anyone on this board can answer that question. It's a tough, I think we all might have different opinions, and through different conversations, we might have different thoughts, but I don't believe if it doesn't get passed, that would end the discussion. I think, I think this is something that every year we need to constantly be reevaluating our processes, whether that's facilities or transportation or curriculum or staffing, or, we need to constantly be looking at every single piece of this pie to make sure that we're constantly doing the right thing. And again, we need to consider, I think, both short-term, mid-term, and long-term growth as well. So yeah, me personally, I don't think that necessarily rules out a new school conversation continuing beyond March, whether it gets passed or not. I think there's a lot could be tied potentially to, I mean, if there's barely any support for it and it's overwhelming that, there is no interest in it, then yeah, that may sway my decision a little bit more. But I think these things are constant conversations that we should be always having, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be talking about, potential solutions. Whether the town wants to go in that direction or not, that's a different story.
In March, too, we will have 2 new board members. So, we'll all have to sit down and, we'll see how the election goes, and then we'll see how the full board wants to move forward next year.
And my other question was just hopefully not, if both articles don't get passed, like they say no to the new school and no to the capital improvement funds, does that keep on the same track of having at least the one school closed, and then just do the best of what we have to repair the other ones?
Yeah, so right now, the warrant articles for a capital improvement in a new school would be independent of
The plan.
The school closing, correct.
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
that's-
thank
yeah,
you.
that's- yep.
We did get clarification about the pop-up message that Catherine was talking about. So just, I think, hopefully Cliff has explained it, but just so it's clear, there's a pop-up message when you open up the school site locator that was put by the company that manages that website, because it's an external website. So they're basically just saying, be aware that the local school district has the final say. We can't guarantee that just because you saw something on this picture here doesn't guarantee that your child is enrolled in that school. So I think it's their way of basically saying we're a third-party organization that provides the geo map for you. So that wasn't a message that we put up. That has nothing to do with restructuring. It's just the company's disclaimer.
Don't blame us.
So, Joe, question, a communication plan regarding, I'm sure transition activities and the families that are affected by this. I guess when will that be delivered to those families, I guess?
So when will transition activities be planned?
Just, I mean, well, I guess, will we be reaching out directly to those, a Derry Village student that is now going to Grinnell? When will we be reaching out to them and letting them know that?
That's a good question. I don't know that we had a definite timeline for reaching out directly to each family about where their school is for next year. We can talk about that.
I would say we could do that at any time, right? I mean, the map is finalized. I would say the sooner the better. I think we should be notifying everyone where they're going next year.
All right, sorry to take over delegates and individuals. We'll get back on track. Anyone else that would like to approach the microphone?
Good evening. Jim McGacker on Brookview Drive in Derry. Just a question following up on the first question on headcount, where there are two different budgets, you know, the default budget and then what we're looking to pass. Do you have any rough numbers on how many teachers would be, if the budget passes, what's the number of teachers, and then what's the number of support, administrative, cafeteria, you know, all the regular other staff other than teachers, which would then generate total headcount, because that question got asked at the school district meeting. And then if the default happens, what's going to be the number of teachers and the number of support staff? If you don't have that now, if you could place that on the website before the election, I think that would be helpful to people so that they could understand the effect. Understanding the numbers may not be perfect, but you have to have some idea if the budget passes. Here's how many teachers we're going to have. Here's how many people are going to be in the SAU and other support functions. And then if the default passes, I would assume that's a plan B, and you have some idea that would probably help your case to the public. And I just recommend if you put that on the website, that'd be a good thing. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else? Not seeing anyone, so at this time I would move on unless anyone from the board has anything that they would like to add.
Jonathan. I'm used to Anthony turning this on for me. Just talking about technology, Cliff, somehow my email, my SAU email, is connecting with Kearney's name. Not sure how that works, but
I'll look into it.
thank you.
Mhm.
All right, not seeing anything else. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which we have a facilities update. There is an attachment in the packet for ARM consultants. I don't know if we can start with the administration or the facilities committee, but I'll turn to the administration first.
Okay, we did include in your packet the bid pricing for the roof replacement projects at both West Running Brook and Ernest P. Barca. As you remember, last year we had a warrant article that was to retain $1.8 million from unreserved fund balance in order to fund the roofing projects. So, as you know, we've been using ARM roof consultants, and they did all of the engineering. They came back and they were able to go out to bid, and they received 4 bids for both projects. And they came and did a presentation for the facilities committee, so we are bringing it forward to you as a full board. There was a difference in price. All 4 of the bidders have done many, many projects for ARM roofing consultants, so all of them are able to be used. They're highly recommended. There was one that came in lower, so typically when we're going out to bid, you don't necessarily have to go with the lowest bid, but given that all of these contractors have done multiple projects for ARM roofing, they feel confident that going with any one of them would be appropriate and would be good for the district. So in looking at price, if you're now just, because all of their work would be the same, then we would look at pricing. And Tech Roofing did come in lower than the other roofing companies. And when we looked at that, we had a $1.8 million budget. Their proposal actually came in a little over $30,000 more than what our budget is, and they agreed to reduce their quote by the $34,000 so that they are only going to be what our budget was. So we want to thank them for that, and we're hoping that if we can bring this for a board vote, so it would be to do the West Running Brook roof replacement, Barca roof replacement, and it also includes repairs on some of our other schools, and it would be a total of $1.8 million. And all projects would be completed by the end of summer. And I think that will take a roll call vote.
Thank you for that update. Anyone from the Facilities Committee have anything else they want to add about that?
The one thing that I would add is, with ARM, is they're gonna be the ones kind of managing the projects for us, so boots on the ground, overseeing, making sure everything's done correctly, on time, on budget, and following up. So I know that's always been a question as to how are we gonna, when we have these capital improvements and these investments, how are we gonna preserve and keep things going? So just want to kind of put that on the table, that they'll be managing it, they'll be ensuring that the quality is there, that it's done correctly, it's done the right way, and all of that, so.
I have a question about just the 4 different, or not even the 4 different quotes. So when we look at alternates and line item pricing, like the access ladders, new skylights, penetrating guardrails, those were recommendations from ARM, correct?
They are, and I believe they were in our original assessment reports. They might have, I think the ladders might have been even in either through ARM or La Valley Brensinger. And they did talk
OSHA.
from ARM about how necessary those ladders are, particularly for accessing certain areas of the roof that right now we are definitely not in compliance to having our maintenance staff go up there without having ladders installed.
Yeah, the ladders wasn't the one that popped out to me. The skylights did kind of pop up to me because that's, I think, 200,000 or more for each of those. So that's one, I guess the big question I would have is, how strongly recommended were those? If we don't do the skylights, are there other areas that we're not taking care of as well? Because that was kind of really the only other big ticket item that was listed.
I believe you guys may remember, but wasn't the skylight something that they're not gonna know until they get up there and pull them apart, or I thought there was something that it wasn't a matter of whether you wanted to or not, is whether you had to. Wasn't that what it was? And Jane, do you remember? Joe?
I think one of the things, because I think one of us brought it up at the meeting, I don't remember who it was, with the skylight, it was a good question. And it is obviously recommended by those guys, and I think Austin is right. I think that we need to assess and figure out if it's going to be necessary, but I think at the end of the day, they'll know that when they get out there. And one of the things we talked about in the meeting too, at least maybe I brought it up, was, I think this time around, it's really important to make sure we hit every single thing that's recommended by the professionals, so that we can ensure these upgrades, capital improvements will last, and beat the test of time here with all this money we'll be investing. And I think that was kind of the thought process as we were going through the meeting. Obviously, if they find things that may save us money, who knows, until they get up there in certain things. But I think overall, ARM did a really good job and presented really well. And I think, that's something that was considered.
Just to add to that, Jonathan, the skylights could be a potential point of penetration. So to kind of piggyback on what David said with doing it right, it was when you look at the number as it relates to the total cost of the project, it's like running a marathon and only running 25 miles, right? And not running the last mile. 1.2, Michael? So it's a matter of doing it the right way and getting it done 100% and not trying to cut corners, so we're not, future administrations, future boards in 10 or 15 years or beyond, the 20-year lifespan of the roof are saying, well, why didn't we do this? Why didn't they do it correctly back then, right? So we've allocated the 1.8. As Jane alluded, they were able to do all of the projects within that number, inclusive of the add-ons. So the Facilities Committee, along with the administration, felt it was the best use of the funds to shore up everything and have any potential areas that could be a point of water penetration taken care of and addressed while they're doing it.
Thank you for that. Anyone else have any questions before we move on? Go ahead. Brenda?
I see that it's a 20-year roof. Is there an option, was there an option for something longer? Like a 30-year roof?
No, and I'm not sure whether, if there is a 30-year roof, there might be, but I think that he, even when talking to ARM consultants, 20-year roof would be the industry standard for when they were doing a school.
I think I know what you're saying, because I've got a 30-year roof. And, but I do believe the peaks and what happens with residential is very different than the more flat and what they use for the buildings and the more industrial and so forth is the way it was explained. So I don't know if they have a 30. If they do, it might be so cost prohibitive to get the 30, but alls we've ever heard them talk about is a 20.
I felt like in one of the presentations, there was talk about longer lifespan, longer than 20 years, but in my memory, I don't know who had that conversation, so that's why I asked.
I know that so technologically challenged section. I know that when we talk to roofing contractors, when I've talked to roofing contractors, they generally, when you ask them how long the roof's going to last, as opposed to what the labeling on the roof is, they'll generally say, well, it's a 20-year roof, but it'll last 24 or 25 years, 30 years or whatever. I have a 30-year roof on my house also. So that, I don't know, that might have been the conversation. I seem to remember something very similar, but I don't want to put my wallet on the fact that somebody said there was a 30-year roof either. So, whatever.
Well, the years are referring to the warranty, right? It's under warranty for 20 years. It might last longer than that. I mean, I don't think any of the current roofs are under warranty. So, yeah, you'll get as many years out of it as you can, I guess.
So there is a 20-year warranty on this as well?
Yes.
And that includes, so if something, we get a leak or something, contact the roofing company, they come out and fix it, no cost to us. Okay? I mean, if we have to pay for labor, I understand that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah.
Materials.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? All right, well, I know there's some heavy escalators in there, so I'm confident. I would entertain a motion to, Jane, I would entertain a motion to move forward with Tech Roofing for $1.8 million of roof repairs to West Running Brook, Barca, and other SAU buildings in the district.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a first by Jason, second by Kearney. I'll open the floor up to further discussion. Not seeing any, so we'll start with Kearney.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Brenda? Yes. The chair votes yes as well. Motion passes 7-0. So we look forward to the work that Tech Roofing does, and we'll be excited once those repairs are done. You said by the end of this summer?
Yes, we're hoping to have it done by the end of summer.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Any other facilities updates that is worth mentioning tonight, other than the roofs?
This is the time then. Yeah, we've updated the website with some communications tools that we've been developing. On the Forward Bound side, if you go to the new school page, we have 5 new flyers that when you click on any one of them, a PDF will pop up that gives you more information regarding information about the new school itself. There are 4 different categories. This one happens to be the student opportunities. Yeah, you're right, there's 4. School sustainability, the cost and value, and the school community or the community investment as well. Then there's a cover one that starts it out. As well as those, we've created 3 different videos to help explain, and we're going to go ahead and take a moment and show you these videos right now. So. Featuring our own Joe Crawford.
Hi, my name is Joe Crawford, Assistant Superintendent of Schools in the Derry Cooperative School District. Our oldest schools, Gilbert H. Hood Middle School and Grinnell Elementary School, were built in the early 1950s. As the community of Derry grew, 2 new schools were built. South Range Elementary School and Derry Village Elementary School, sister schools, were built in the mid-1960s. And these buildings were designed to meet the needs of students in the mid-1960s. Later, the district built East Derry Elementary School in the 1980s and then West Running Brook Middle School in the 1990s. Our newest school, Ernest P. Barca Elementary School, was built in 2004. Over the last 20 years since Barca was built, our school population has decreased by more than 1,000 students, even as we introduced public kindergarten. Derry school buildings have continued to age over this time period. Their design features, though appropriate when they were first built, have struggled to meet the needs of modern learning. Over the past several years, the Derry School District has hired architects, engineers, and construction experts to provide a comprehensive assessment of our school facilities. These experts have indicated that several of our school buildings are in serious need of repair or replacement of major systems that include HVAC, plumbing, electrical, structural systems. 2 of our schools, Derry Village and South Range, are in the greatest need of significant capital investment and renovation. Not only do their HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and structural systems need significant replacement, but their design features no longer meet the needs of students in today's schools. Even with significant financial investment, these buildings were designed to meet the needs of students in the 1960s. And although they have served many families and students well over the past many decades, the investment of millions of dollars to renovate and repair these buildings would be an inefficient use of taxpayer funds. Because the cost of renovation can often be higher than the cost of new construction, the school board believes the construction of a new elementary school at the site of Derry Village Elementary School is the best long-term solution for our school district. A new school would be designed to meet the needs of today's learners and provide efficiency and accessibility for all students. The board believes we must act now on this project because students and families deserve modern and efficient school facilities. The school district has the opportunity to receive state funding. Construction costs continue to increase. The deteriorating conditions at Derry Village and South Range require immediate action, and financing, design, and construction take time. Because continuing to spend money on renovations and repairs diverts funding away from teachers and students. While it is never an easy decision to build a new school, action is required to support our students, our faculty, our families. Thank you.
Want to mention?
That was good. I don't know if we need to watch all. How many other?
There are 2 more.
So, okay. Yeah. Sorry. I think it's great that we have them. Do we want? I mean, do we need to listen all?
The 3rd one. We should. The 3rd one.
Okay.
I do want to credit Jonathan Harding for a lot of hard work creating these.
Hi, my name is Joe Crawford, Assistant Superintendent of Schools in the Derry Cooperative School District. The school board is asking voters to approve a $37 million warrant article for the purposes of making major renovations and upgrades to existing school facilities and systems. There's a misunderstanding that this money is necessary due to a lack of regular maintenance. Regular repairs and maintenance are the reason that many of these systems are still operational today. Due to shrinking enrollments and increasing costs, it's been difficult for boards to allocate funds toward capital improvement projects. However, all buildings need investment in order to continue to function as they age. As a result of this aging, our buildings need substantial upgrades and replacements of major systems, including fire and security system upgrades, window and door replacements, replacement of roofs, renovation of building envelope systems, and major replacements and upgrades to existing electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and structural systems. To spread out the costs of these repairs, the school district plans to take out bonds, which are low-interest loans available to local governments or municipalities. So by raising funds through bonds, the district can spread the cost to the taxpayers over a larger period of years. In addition, funds that aren't immediately spent will be placed in an interest-bearing account, allowing the school district to earn interest on those savings. Each of our schools requires a significant financial investment in order to keep them viable into the future. This investment in our facilities is a strategic, long-term step toward extending the life of our buildings and increasing the quality of our learning spaces for students, faculty members, and families. Thank you.
I wanted to say that these videos and the handout, the flyers up here, are going to, beginning tomorrow, periodically going to be distributed on social media, Parent Square, and sometimes the PDFs will be distributed on paper in different venues too. So we have, the next 2 or 3 weeks, we have quite a campaign of delivering this kind of communication.
Yeah, those 2 videos were great. So we got a building school building video, we've got a capital improvement, and then the third one is next generation learning. So yeah, appreciate the work that you guys have put in, and I mean, yeah, this is, you know, a big undertaking. Appreciate that. And so, you know, we're constantly getting asked questions of, you know, where can we get this information? I think our website has a plethora of information, and now, you know, we're trying to make it easy for people to consume that data in more consumable forms. So I appreciate this content. Thank you to you guys and Joe for being our actor. Are you part of SAG now? So yeah, and yeah, Cliff, if other than, you know, you and Jonathan, please call out and recognize the other people that were involved in this process as well. Okay.
It was just Jonathan and Joe and I, pretty much.
I also just want to say thank you. I think this is fantastic, and I'll do my best to try to get it out there as well. So thank you.
Yeah, guys, this was amazing. When we talked about this several months ago, you know, this definitely exceeded any expectations I had. So I definitely appreciate it, and looking forward to the election and hoping we get what we need to move forward. The one last thing that we'll be doing as well is, I think these guys will be talking about it on Thursday, is sending out a postcard to the community of factual information. There's no opinions, it's just facts that we'll be sending out a week or so before the election. So that's in the works as well and being finalized. And then, you know, we talked about, we have an event tomorrow night at the VFW, Joe and I talked to those guys. Michael and Austin will do the Derry Rotary together on the 28th. And then we have, you know, we talked about the basketball games and doing that. And then, you know, just whoever, word of mouth is really, hopefully this will make it happen. So thank you again, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right. We'll move on to our next.
Before we move on, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the history of how we got to this point. You know, coming out of the deliberative session, I feel like, you know, I mean, we've been talking about facilities, and even this restructuring has been part of the conversation in this district for 10 years. And I feel like there are some people in the community that feel like this is being rushed, when in reality, you know, this is something that has been sat on for years and years and years now. You know, I mean, if you go back to 2014 to 2017, there was a series of, you know, there was a committee formed and there was a series of 3 reports put out. You know, in 2014, there was a facilities study committee formed. The board contracted with the New Hampshire School Administrators Association, and they did a facilities study. It was clear then, 10 years ago, that our facilities were aging and we needed to do something about it. They came up with a number of possible alternatives. As part of this report, they included configuration changes. It talked about a 5, 6, 7, 8 model. It talked about investment in a repair program, and it talked about the closing of an elementary school. The committee did another report in 2016, and it focused on those 3 restructuring scenarios, including the exact one that we are implementing right now. All 3 of the plans included either closing an elementary school or reconfiguration to a 5, 6, and a 7, 8 school. They did another report, a third one in 2017, that basically went into more depth on those 3 scenarios that were explored in phase 2. The phase 3 committee, just as a point of observation, as I know this also came up with a deliberative, it included 53 people. Current, former SAU and school administrators, teachers, union leadership, town councilors, state representatives, community members. Now, I don't expect that all 53 of those people agreed with every detail of the report produced by the committee, but it's important to take note of how much participation there has been from the community in all of these discussions over the years. I think, some of these reports I think are available on the website. They're kind of buried in like the attachments from meetings from years and years ago, but I'm sure we could probably make them available if people wanted to take a look at them. But the 5, 6, and 7, 8 school has been a part of the discussion since the beginning, but it wasn't considered plausible back in 2014 because of where enrollment was. I doubt when all 3 of these reports were done, when we were talking about it 10 years ago, that we'd still be sitting here talking about the same things. Last year, the administration made the case that a 5, 6, and 7, 8 school is now plausible. The board voted to move forward, and that's where we are today. At this point in 2024, there are multiple area districts that have implemented this plan, and with great success. Bedford and Wyndham have a 5, 6, and 7, 8 middle school. My niece and nephew went through that model in Bedford. My son's best friend is going through the model in Wyndham right now. She goes to the intermediate school. And, it's working out great in those places. And my son himself is going into 5th grade next year, and I'm feeling good about him going to the intermediate school next year. So, we've made major progress toward a solution over the past couple of years, especially with finally bringing in LaValle Brensinger to do a complete, thorough professional assessment of all of our facilities. Through all of the preceding discussions, those 3 earlier reports that were done from 2014 to 2017, evaluation of the buildings was mostly conjecture. It was based on surface level observations going around and looking at the buildings and, judging how things looked. And, we weren't making adequate investments in the facilities coming out of that because we didn't understand the depth of the problem. The need for the capital improvement plan that we're talking about now is immediate. Most of our buildings, even sections of our oldest buildings, haven't received a major investment since they were built. The focus for years, and rightly so, was on building additions and new buildings to keep up with the growth in enrollment. But since enrollment plateaued and started declining, investments in facilities have been pushed off to keep the budget below default. There are systems across the district that are far beyond their expected service life, no longer operate efficiently, need constant attention from our facilities team, and the frequent fixes are an unpredictable money drain. Every building in the district needs roof work. Fire alarm systems need to be replaced. Flooring, casework, windows, doors, and ceilings need to be replaced. Electrical systems are old and undersized, and there is far too much work to be completed, and most of it is far too urgent to be completed gradually over time through the regular budget process or through capital reserve funds. For some of our schools, the cost of investing in capital improvements simply does not make sense compared to the construction of a new building. I'll quote that 2017 report. Due to the age of our schools, our subcommittee recommends the district further investigate building a new school and not renovating or adding on to one of the existing schools. There are more efficiencies with building a new school than renovating one or more of the schools. South Range and Derry Village were both built in 1966 when the district was struggling with rapid growth and construction methods at the time focused on quick construction of bare bones buildings using cheap materials. The original structures have received little improvement since construction in 1966. The 1974 addition at DVS and the 2000 additions at both schools are also in need of significant investment. They have just not held up compared to buildings that are older but were constructed using sturdier materials. These buildings need more than surface level repairs. The cost of like-new renovations at each of these buildings has been estimated in the range of $35 million each, and the design would be limited by the footprint of the existing structures. I believe it's a better long-term investment to build a new, more efficient school designed for how we educate children today that would have more longevity than a repaired SRS or DVS. If we do not act this year, the need for a new school does not go away. The cost of construction is going to go up with each passing year, and we need to continue to pour money into the existing facilities for each additional year they remain open. Over the last year, we've been told that we're rushing into this. We're not putting enough thought into it. It's been 10 years of discussion, detailed studies, and professional facilities assessments. It's beyond time to act. If we reverse all the work that's been done toward a solution and keep things just as they are now, where do we go from there? What's the plan? The issues with our facilities would still need to be dealt with. The enrollment numbers are what they are. We're down over 1,000 students from the peak in the early 2000s, and we have excess space in our current configuration. I believe the solution would still be to close DVS and SRS and consolidate them into one new school. It just doesn't make sense to renovate both DVS and SRS when we could build a new school for nearly the same amount of money. If we hit the reset button now, it'll push construction of that new school even further into the future, increasing its cost. And I'll also note that for renovation projects, the state building aid process requires projects exceeding 60% of the cost of a new construction to show that new construction was considered and provide an explanation of why a renovation project was chosen over it. It's possible a renovation project at DVS and SRS wouldn't be eligible for state aid because the state doesn't consider it a wise use of funds. I think we're being pretty open and honest with you with regard to what is needed. We're trying to make up for underinvestment that has accumulated over many years all at once. It's a lot, but I don't want to propose the bare minimum so we could say we accomplished something and leave the problem unsolved for future boards to deal with. The need for these projects is not going away, and further delay is only going to serve to increase the eventual cost. The burden on us locally is huge, but that's the system we're operating under. No state invests less money in public education than New Hampshire. Local municipalities are expected to fund the vast majority of the school budget through local property taxes. We were looking at another project that LaValle Brensinger is working on. It's a $170 million middle school in Maine. The state of Maine is funding 77% of the project. That town only needs to pass a $40 million bond locally. We'll be lucky to have 15% of our project funded through the state building aid process. And I mean, to me, that's where we are. I mean, these two projects that we're talking about in these videos, I don't see a better option on the table. If there is one, I'd love to hear it. And I mean, please continue to reach out to us. We respond to emails. We're happy to take a phone call. We're around town. If you want to talk to us about why we think this is the best plan, I mean, we all will make time for anybody who wants to talk about these things. So, it's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Michael. Now we will move on to the next agenda item, which is the restructuring plan. So, Joe, we'll pass the baton over to you.
Okay, thank you. We want to just give some quick updates. It's only, I think, been 2 weeks since we last spoke about this, so there are not a ton of changes, but in terms of curriculum and co-curriculars, we are working to spend some time thinking about before and after school care at the 5-6 school. We're kind of at the intermediate level. We don't have before and after school care guaranteed 5 days a week at the middle schools, but we do have programs at all of our elementary schools. So we thought it was very reasonable to pursue a potential program at the intermediate school as those kids kind of straddle both of the existing age bands. So we're fortunate. We've received 2 proposals from local organizations who want to run extended day programs in in our building. One of them already runs extended day programs in several of our schools, and another one is a nonprofit organization that does after-school programs for kids. So we're going to be meeting with those two organizations in the coming next week, just to kind of get an overview of what their proposal looks like, what activities would look like for students, how it would be tailored to the age group, costs for families, all that kind of stuff. So that's exciting. We also tonight in our next presentation, we'll talk about some new course offerings that we're excited to bring to the 5, 6, and the 7, 8 schools. So that's some recent progress. We're continuing to work on our Appendix A of the collective bargaining agreement, which deals with co-curriculars and athletics. The nice thing is we have lots of money budgeted for those activities. We just have to kind of really figure out exactly where we're going to be spending funds for the 24-25 year. We are also going to be presenting another updated vision for the 5-6 school at the March 11th meeting, so that's coming up. It was raised here that people would like us to do another presentation about the 5-6 sort of philosophy and vision, so that's coming. We've also been working with First Student around school start and end times. Everything is connected, so we got some initial preliminary data back from them the other day, but there's some more digging that they need to do to look at drive times and bus routes, so that's coming up soon. Yep, and the transportation subcommittee will be meeting to look at that information. Laura, any updates on special ed that you think are important talking about here?
No, I don't think so at this point. We do continue, thank you. We do continue to recruit to fill all of our positions with our programs as well as anticipated for next year. I know I'm going with Kathy Kennedy over to UNH over the February vacation to a job fair there. And that's kind of where we're at right now. I feel like we've been on a pretty constant interviewing, always looking for applications. We have had some recent applications for school psychologists, which is very exciting, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
In terms of redistricting of students, we haven't made any changes in several months, but we are continuing to monitor enrollment projections. There are always move-ins, move-outs, and then of course the mystery of kindergarten, because those are registrations for families. We're, as of earlier today, we had 225 students registered for kindergarten, which is excellent. Really happy. We want to. Austin reminds me all the time, want to use this opportunity to make the plug to everybody out there that if you have a kindergarten age child for next year, please contact your child's school and get them registered. If you're not sure what school, there is a site locator button on our website, or you can just give us a call at 603-432-1210 and we'll help you out. The important piece is that although we guarantee that there'll be spots for all of our kindergartners that register, it is first come, first serve to be at your school, at your neighborhood school, because sometimes we have an overflow situation where some kindergartners have to go to another neighborhood school. So that's just a good heads up for everybody. We're happy with the progress. It's only February and 225 registrations. Just to put that in perspective, we have right around 300 kindergarten students in the district right now. So we're approaching that kind of point where I think we're anticipating somewhere in around 300 students. That's what we're expecting. In terms of transition activities, we've done a lot of work with our leadership team around identifying some evening dates that will be coming up in the spring for parents and students at all of our schools. So we'll be sharing those dates and publicizing them and getting them out. We didn't want to put them out too early and have them lost in the shuffle, but those dates have been planned. We've also set up some goals for early release day activities for staff. We have an early release day in May that we plan to dedicate quite a bit of time for staff transition activities. And we're continuing to plan both end of the year activities and then some summer transition activities. I think we talked last time about we've partnered with an organization, Adventure Lore, who we've used in the past. They're a local organization out of Danville. They do team building activities for students, so we've already got them on our calendar for a few schools. So those dates will be published, and we'll continue planning. We have a leadership. We've got an assistant principals meeting, I think, next week. It's on the agenda, and we'll continue to talk about it at principal meetings. In terms of staffing, so we recently announced our preliminary administrator assignments, so we shared that with staff members. We also worked to finalize a survey for our AFSCME employees. So that's, for lack of a better way of saying it, those are our paraprofessionals or assistants. There's just lots of different types of assistants, so they fall under a big umbrella. So that survey, we shared it with the AFSCME leadership team to give us pointers. Are we asking the right questions of these people? And then got some feedback, and then that survey will be going out to our assistants and paraprofessionals. We're going to continue to monitor requests from staff. We're going to continue to recruit, as Laura just talked about. We'll take a look at those paraprofessional survey results in order to figure out where the preferences are for our people. And then at some point we'll put together our plan is to put together some preliminary assignments for paraprofessionals. We have talked about the paraprofessionals are, I like to say they are probably the closest staff members to students in terms of proximity. They have no boundary between students and their work, which makes them incredibly important to our district, but it also makes scheduling them very, very challenging because it is completely based on student needs. Not all of our, all of our students have annual updates to their individual education plans. Things change, services change, and so we need to sort of stay nimble with this group of staff members. So it is challenging to place these people, but we're focused on dedicating time to that. In terms of facilities, I know that Cliff gave a little bit of an update of some things going on. Jane, anything else that you want to talk about here?
Sure. When we mentioned in the under recent progress, we did receive the 2 quotes from civil engineers. Interesting, they are very far apart. One was for $23,800. The other was for $37,100. Jeremy has also been working with the town, reaching out to somebody that they know. And we've been working with 2 different playground firms to kind of narrow down the piece of equipment, which we think we've done. Also, the RFP for the moving company, Austin had given us samples from other districts that we're using as a template. But that's going to be going out on the 15th. It'll be posted on our website. Tracy has completed that, so that will be up, and then we typically will give them 2 weeks. And with the school vacation, maybe we'll extend it 3, but we'll have that posted on the website under RFPs. And I think I mentioned the last time, the renovations that are going to need to take place at Gilbert H. Hood's, particularly for science rooms, they're able to do those while school's in session, so.
Final category on this slideshow is transportation. So Cliff, I don't know if you want to add anything that's here. So there's no real changes other than we are working with First Student to analyze data. We expect to get some feedback back from them by the end of this week, and I think the transportation subcommittee is going to be meeting to review that data and take a look at how that impacts our start and end times for our schools. It's not in this slideshow, but we did include it in the packet. There have been some questions about capacity, school capacity, and how those numbers are determined, and so we wanted to try to lay out some real clear understanding of where the capacity numbers come from. So put that together for board members. I don't know if anybody has questions about that or wants to talk through any of that.
You guys are comfortable with where the numbers are for next year, then probably not.
Yeah, we do feel comfortable. I mean, change is hard, so I mean, there are obviously unanticipated things that will pop up, but Jeremy's team is outstanding. They did a great job responding to a minor emergency the other day at one of our buildings, and they were superstars.
I got to hear all about it.
Yes. Cornell families got to hear all about it. We won't go into all the details maybe here, but I got to witness their work firsthand and unbelievably impressed. So we know that there are going to be, Jane was talking about, there's already some light renovation and demo happening at Gilbert H. Hood, and that's happening while school's going on because of kind of the way that they can structure and organize their work. So that's really good stuff.
And I just want to jump in, along with our maintenance staff that came over and took care of that water issue that they had. I say it every time, and I said it directly to the staff members as well as Hillary Martin, the assistant principal, who was in charge as Melissa was at a Title I conference. The staff just jumps in at that point when there's no questions asked, and they do what needs to be done, and wanted to make sure we thanked the staff at Grinnell, as well as all of our schools, because this is what happens when there is a need and one of these situations arise. They take care of the kids first and foremost, and they do what needs to be done. So thank you to everyone.
Joe, the only question I have about that capacity report you gave us is I just want to reiterate something that I saw over the weekend or heard over the weekend, is that with the reconfiguration, our classroom goal sizes would actually be increasing, but I've been under the assumption, well, not even assumption, I've been understanding that this will actually allow us to get back below our school board goals, because this current year we're actually up a student in each class grade, correct?
Right, so you guys as a board voted to increase class size goals by 1 student for this current year. And so we created a budget last year with configurations of classrooms with that elevated increased class size. When we created the budget this year with our class configurations, the assignment of staff, we reverted back to the lower class size goals. So yeah, I mean, and I probably said it, I can't count how many times I've said it, but one of the efficiencies when you have going from 5 schools to 4 elementary schools and going from 6 grades to 5 grades in a building is you have more of the same students in the same place. So you have less disparity across buildings, where you have one building that has classes of 26 and another building that has classes of 16. Now, you can't always avoid that. When you have 4 different schools, you are going to have 4 different neighborhoods. However, 4 different neighborhoods is easier to level off than 5, just by 20%. So yeah, we are seeing a more equal distribution of students in classes than we've seen in the past. But yeah, lower, that was a long answer to yes. We went back to the lower class size schools.
Thank you.
Just to give some context on the utilization too, so 100% would be there are kids in every seat in the building every minute of the day, which obviously never happens. So I think the number that I've heard you guys throw around is like the ideal percent utilization is 90. So, obviously with these numbers, we're well under that pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, you always want some elasticity in your building. And yeah, these capacity is an interesting thing, right? So the fire department will give you one capacity, the police department will give you a different capacity. It's really how you're using the building. It's we used to do dances at Gilbert H. Hood. Kim Carpentino loved them, and we would have conversations with the fire department about, well, if you set up tables, you can have X number of people in this room. If you don't have tables, you can have Y number of people in this room. So okay, well, yeah, and that makes total sense. So how you're organizing and using the space plays a huge role into that capacity number. Yeah.
Have you guys started mapping out like classroom utilization at the buildings and how that, especially at the intermediate and middle schools next year?
Yeah, we have. We've done scenarios, taking into account the needs of different student groups, such as students who might be in specialized programs, and they're needing to ensure that they have great access, clean, quick access to facilities in the building. So we've done that. Honestly, principals and building level leaders also want to play a big role in setting up their schools. So we try not to micromanage that from the central office. So we've set out both the administrative team at Hood, the administrative team at West Running Brook has looked at different scenarios. This is where this is going to be. And so it's kind of an ongoing conversation back and forth. But yeah, we've got a pretty good idea about where everything's going to be.
All right. Thank you for that update, Joe and team. We will keep it with you for a curriculum update.
All right, if you're lucky, you're going to hear less of me and more of Kim, but we're gonna share with you some data. So just to set the stage here, we gave you board members' packet with lots of data and lots of charts. We're not going to go through every single one of those charts here in this presentation just because there's quite a bit. We tried to highlight some really high-level important pieces here. And Kim is our director of curriculum and grants, I guess. And so I want Kim to chat about what she's seen here. I do want to just a big shout out. We've already given this shout out to our staff through our principals and to some staff members directly. There's some really impressive growth that we've seen, and we're moving the needle. And when I say we, I really mean they, teachers. Teachers deserve a lot of the credit, if not all of the credit. I mean, I guess, principals, everybody's working really hard, but teachers are right there delivering outstanding instruction, and so they should be commended for work. So this first chart, and I promise I'm going to stop talking about this, but this is sometimes a difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around. So this is looking at growth from fall to the winter. So where our kids were at in the fall and where they ended so far this winter testing, which just ended a couple weeks ago. Every child has what's called a projected growth target, okay? And that projected growth target is based off of a calculation that is done through the norm sampling process by NWEA. So NWEA has millions and millions and millions of students in their norm group. And they look at how a first grader in the fall to a first grader in the winter, what is the average amount of growth? 50th percentile. That becomes that target. So the targets are based on the 50th percentile. The reason I say that is to have 71% of students meet or exceed their growth target is well above what the curve, the normal curve of distribution of data would be. So in a normally distributed set of data, you would see about 50% of kids meet the target and about 50% of kids fall short of the target, because the target is designed to be in the middle of the whole sample. So I know we want 100% of our students to meet or exceed their growth targets, right? That's what we want. However, in the world of really large data sets, it would be like saying you have 100% of students who are above average. It's a very challenging statistical thing to do. So when we see numbers of 71%, 70%, those are really impressive growth targets. And then the very top number, just to be clear, that's percentage of students that made any growth from fall to winter, right? So we want that to be 100%. That's the goal, but and this is math. Okay, Kim, I'm going to stop talking. I'm sure you have many more insightful things to say.
Okay, so can you hear me? Yeah. So I just want to go over a couple of things that I'm going to go over tonight. 2 data sets. First is from the NEWA, which is the Northwest Evaluation Association, and it's the MAP growth. And so MAP, it measures measures of academic growth. So the purpose of us taking that assessment, that's fall, winter, and spring that we're taking that. Kindergarten takes it winter and spring, and not fall. The purpose of us taking that is so it informs us of what students, what we can see students know and what they're ready to do next. So that's why we take this assessment. So like Joe said, this data is amazing, and we are doing a lot to put into place to drive instruction. A couple of things that we have done is in the fall, after the fall assessment period, we had a 2.5-hour meeting with all of the administrators in the district. We talked about the assessment data. We talked about every single school as a whole, as a district. We made goals. All of the administrators made a different growth for their school and based on their data. Then all the early release days that we have, all of the teachers go through a certain protocol that Joe and I have put into place that goes through all of the data, and they have analysis of their test scores, both NEWA, DIBELS, which I'll get to in a minute, and also their assessments in their classrooms. So they have we gave the teachers the autonomy to do math, to focus either on math or reading or both based on what they feel as their grade level for the first round. And so that's where you'll see a lot of the instruction and a lot of the data has increased in both growth and achievement. So this first data chart is just your fall this year to the winter, and as you can see, our grade levels have increased, and overall we're at 62% of our students who met or exceeded their growth.
You want to move on?
Yeah, thank you. This next chart shows the percent of students who met or exceeded their growth, but it will be from the fall of 22 to the fall of 23. So that would be a full year of data. Also, that would be the orange. And then the green is from the winter of 23 to the winter of 24, so another full year. And then the blue is from the fall of 23 to the winter of 24. That's just this time period. We put the fall of 22 to 23 a full year so that you can see our fall to fall and our winter to winter. Even though that is still a year, both fall to fall and winter to winter, you can see that our winter scores are a little bit higher, and that is because of the summer slide. Fall, you have a summer slide, so that goes into consideration there, even though you can still, winter to winter still has the fall summer slide, but you have more instruction going on, so it measures that growth. Any questions on that? Before? Okay. And in the past, our growth, we've always had growth in our data, but we've never gone for the achievement has never increased head, I guess. So the it's been kind of status quo. So we right here, you'll see the data from fall to winter, and you'll see our achievement. So the darker green is the fall and our winter. So our growth we're exceeding. So the projected growth, we are exceeding in our projected growth, and that means our achievement is raising.
Yeah, these two are so connected, as Kim was saying. So if you're a student that is struggling, you need to make more growth than your peers do just to catch up, right? So because it's a race where the targets are always moving, and it's really challenging. So to see the achievement score, so again, this is based on 50th percentile. So the achievement goal here is the grade level mean RIT. So if you're in 6th grade and the mean RIT is 230, don't worry about these numbers. They're RIT scores. It's a Roush unit, but this is the mean. This is the percentage of students that are at or above that 50th percentile group. So, for me, we were talking about this earlier today, grade 3, we started the year with 45% of our students were at or above the 50th percentile, at or above that grade level midpoint. And now in the winter, 61%. So a jump of 16 percentage points. And this is over, 3rd grade, the entire school district numbers. So there's about 330, 340 students or so in this subgroup. So that's a pretty big jump to have 16 percentage points. Obviously, we want to see everybody going up a lot. As Kim already said, the kindergarten kids don't take it in the fall, which is why there's a grade out box under fall. But hey, good news, 70% of our kindergartners in the winter are at or above that midpoint. So that's great. Sorry.
No, that's great. And that's really great it's just achievement's great. The instruction, the teachers, I like to celebrate. I celebrate every time I go to a school. The kids are doing great too. So then the next one is the reading, NIWA. So this is the fall to winter, same thing. So we have the achievement. You'll see that the reading is a little bit more stagnant than the math. We had a lot more grade levels focusing on the math achievement this year, but reading is still there. It's still going along, as well as we have in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, we put in a new system, UFly. So it's a phonics system. It goes with the phonemic awareness and phonics. So I will show you how the NIWA and the DIBELS is another screener I'll get to in a minute. I will compare those for you. So the NIWA measures all of the strands in comprehension, informational text, literature text, language, things like that. If we go to the next slide, this is the same thing, but it's the fall to fall, winter to winter, and then the fall to winter test scores. And you can see that there's still, you know, the winter, winter to winter, and the fall to winter, there's a slight dip in certain grade levels. And I'll compare that in a minute. And then this is the reading achievement. So in kindergarten right now, in the winter, we have 56% of the students that have achievement. So this is really great because this is a direct correlation to our UFly and what we've put in place. And our achievement, you can see at the bottom, grades 1 through 8, our achievement stayed the same in the reading, 54% to 54%.
I have a question, Kim.
Yes.
So, first of all, thank you. I love to see all the math updates and the achievement there and closing the gap and all the improvement. I have a question on the reading, though, and maybe you already answered it when you said there's so much focus on math, and maybe that's why there's some of the disparity there, but it looks like K1, 2, there's growth, things look great. And then that grade, the year 3 through 7, right? It's pretty, and a couple of those, like grade 6, 60 to 51, I mean, it drops off. Can you give a little like maybe a reasoning as to why we might be seeing that, where math starts to go up a bit? Is it just the focus there? Is it?
It's a combination of a lot of things. It's a focus, and also there's reading right now because of the laws in the state. There's a lot of shifts going on with reading. So it's, you know, a lot of the training, we have 149 educators in letters training, which is a very specific training, and they did a lot of the training on phonemic awareness and phonics. That's all the grades, and now they're getting into that comprehension, and so it's a different way of looking at things. So we're typically going to see this as a dip, like in the 6th grade especially, because it's the comprehension. They didn't have, because of the pandemic loss, they didn't have the ability to break down those fundamental skills. So we're trying to go back and do, you know, syllabication and things like that so that their accuracy in their words are raising. And I will show you that on the DIBELS, that area is coming up. So it's a separate screener, second screener, because we wanted to measure that. So the comprehension is still, this is measuring more of the comprehension, but we also did another screener, which is the maze on the DIBELS, and that is increasing too.
So you have the data that shows where the loss is, and you're able to have a targeted approach to that?
Yes, and we are changing, we're looking at it, and Dr. Taylor, the Director of Literacy, she's compiled all this data, and we are in the DIBELS, and we are looking at that, and we are looking at how we're going to address the issues with the different grade levels and how we're going to change curriculum to tweak that.
Thank you.
So if you look at the next slide, this is the DIBELS. So DIBELS is it's a research-based assessment, and it's administered fall, winter, and spring, and it's a 1-minute assessment on each subtest. This assessment is in accordance to the HB 377 law for dyslexia and other reading difficulties. So this measures 5 different areas of reading. It measures the phonological awareness, phonics, comprehension, fluency, and vocabulary. And so you'll see that some of the subtests, so in the fall, the letter name fluency, that's where they had to, you know, tell the letters, go through the assessment in 1 minute and tell all the letters they know. You can see that we had 48% of those students that did not know their letters in the red. Now we're only at 28%. So 58% of our students are on level there. Same thing with the non-word fluency. If you look at the words correct, the words correct is they have to say, you know, at, they have to blend that together. So that is telling us right there that we have 45% of our kids that are in the highest level there in blue, and 27% are in green. So that's our UFly. That really measures our programming and our curriculum so that our kids are blending, they're understanding the letters, they have structure in their programming. It's consistent on a regular basis, and that's kindergarten all the way up to 3rd grade. If you go to grade 1, this is just an interesting look as well. You can see the data here. Word fluency has increased, so they're blending. That tells us that they're accurately blending the words. They're reading them in a minute. It tells us that. And then the composite score in the end there, the last column, that tells us the overall, where they overall are in all the sub-tests.
Can I ask one more question
Yes,
here?
please do.
So those top charts.
Yep.
So if you look at negligible risk and then at risk,
Mhm.
I don't know necessarily what the acronyms are for, but there's a pretty good spread there where at risk is higher than negligible risk.
Mhm.
So how does somebody like me who, like when I look at this eye chart, how do I interpret that? If, if I'm looking at this for my child and I go, well, what the heck does all this mean?
The 20.
Because I look at, if something's higher, if the percentage for at-risk is higher than it is for negligible risk, that to me says that there's an issue, right? If the potential risk is higher than no risk.
So the negligible risk is that the core instruction is above the benchmark target.
Okay.
And so the at-risk is that we need intensive support, and they're well below the target.
So there's a lot of these categories here that are the at-risk is higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm trying to understand how is this data interpreted and then what it kind of comes out of it.
So, yeah.
Because that's kind of feeding into what I had asked about before, right? Of grades 3 through 7, it kind of all works together.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think is important is that the negligible risk and I don't love those terms.
Yeah.
I'm only reading them at face value,
No,
Joe,
right,
right?
that's what the terms are in the
here's why I don't love them.
Concern, or there's another word that it might not be.
Well, the reason they use that is this is a fluency screener, so it's used to screen for dyslexia, which under state law now we're required to do. Although we've been doing DIBELS for a long time, right?
No.
No? Okay.
And special ed.
Special ed, okay, sorry. So both negligible and minimal risk are students that are at or above grade level.
Okay.
So negligible risk is above grade level, minimal risk is at grade level. So all I'm saying is that if you're comparing at risk to negligible risk, yes, because you're gonna have a small number of kids that are well above grade level, but those kids in that green are also doing perfectly fine. There's they use the term minimal risk, which I don't love the way that term comes out, but it's really students that are core instruction, they're at or slightly above that benchmark. There isn't any additional, we need to watch them, right? We're always watching everybody, but there isn't an initial intervention that needs to be put in place. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
Okay.
Is there what's the benchmark? Is there a benchmark statewide or?
It goes on, it's not, I don't know if, it is on a norm. It is normed. I just don't have the benchmark.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear the benchmark and to see how we compare against other school districts. It's just, and again, it's an eye chart. It's hard to absorb, but I might be reading into it a little deeper than I should be. But when I see risk, negligible versus risk or at risk, to me, it's especially where that percentage is, the basis points are higher than negligible. It's something that my brain starts to just wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was first looking at these, I'm really focused on that blue and green bar going up and the red and orange or yellow, whatever color that is, going down, because that's the pivot point. Yeah, we want to grow that blue bar, but we absolutely need to reduce. The purpose of this test is to uncover reading disabilities.
Yeah.
So it's not a comprehensive achievement test like NWEA or New Hampshire SAS is. It's more of a diagnostic instrument. As Laura had said, it's been used for years in special education to try to diagnose dyslexia. And now, because there was a state law that was passed that requires dyslexia screening for all students, so I guess what I'm getting at is a little different than your typical achievement test that's measuring grade level content. It's looking for evidence, any evidence that you might potentially have a reading disability.
Yeah. Yeah. And these come from
Small risk of you having a reading disability.
Which I would argue is a benefit, especially as someone who has dyslexia and didn't really get a great public education because it wasn't aware until later. Of being able to identify that early on, you can then implement the education that person who has dyslexia, who learns differently, and you can incorporate that into their education long term, rather than letting them wait years and years before it's identified. So being able to identify it earlier, even though it maybe make it a little bit higher percentage-wise, I still think it's a benefit because we're able to identify who's having these struggles and then implement the programs that they need to be able to learn how they learn.
And the blue, these terms come right directly from the DIBELS assessment, but the blue is really, that's a higher number to achieve because the blue is above the benchmark, it's above average. So we're looking at the blue and the green, okay, it's where we want them to be. And then the yellow is, that tier 2 intervention, and then anything in the red we give more supports to as intervention, if that helps.
Does. Thank you.
And then that was grade 1. So then if you go on to, I just wanted to pull up grade 6 too. So you can look at grade 6. So the NEWA, as I was talking before, it had a little dip. But if you look at the ORF AC, which is the oral reading fluency accuracy, the WRC is the words per minute, words correct per minute, and the accuracy levels, that tells us how many words they're reading, and it puts into effect with the errors. But if you look in there, look at the winter, they're at 89%. So that tells us that they're reading, they're dissecting the word, and they're able to put it into syllables. They're able to understand that word more so. So that will, because that is increasing, their comprehension now will come on board because they're understanding what the word means. Any questions on that?
I'm good.
Okay. But overall, our data, and we did have a cover page here that explains all of the DIBELS for you, and we put all the grade levels in. I just wanted to highlight a few of the grade levels tonight, but they are doing amazing. The data is really increasing. The achievements are going up. We have a plan in place. We also have a meeting next week with all the administrators for after school that we'll be looking at the data again. We'll be setting a new 6-week benchmarks for our next round of data to look at, and an action plan of how we're going to get that done. And all the teams individually at the last early release looked at their data, and they also planned goals and action plans around that data. So we're really moving in the right direction, and it's worth really being celebrated.
Awesome. Thank you.
So we were hoping to talk just a little bit more about curriculum and a different sort of lens through the development of courses. So we are excited to talk with you. We shared this with the curriculum subcommittee, but we want to talk to the whole board a little bit about this. So the background here is, as we've restructured our district and we have all of our students going through the 5-6 school and then all of our students going through the 7-8 school, we've taken a careful look at those offerings of courses in those buildings, because what we don't want to do is create too many redundancies where the students are doing the same thing over and over again. We have a really cool opportunity here to sort of widen and expand opportunities for kids. So this was also possible. We had 2 retirements this year among our Unified Arts group, one in family and consumer science and one in the area of computers. So what we have put together is a plan to not replace the family and consumer science position at the 5-6 school, because it will still be offered to all students at the 7-8 school. And I know that sounds like we're cutting family and consumer science, but if you think about it, in our old model, half of our students went to West Running Brook and half of them went to Gilbert H. Hood, which is why we needed 2 family and consumer science programs. 100% of our students will go through Gilbert H. Hood, and so our students will have access to that program at Hood. But so what we would like to put in place at the 5-6 school is library media studies. And so this is based on an understanding of how students sort of access literacy, learn about research skills, learn about online citizenship, all that kind of stuff. Our students at the elementary school do have library as a unified arts or as a special that they go to once a week. It is taught by a library assistant. I think they do outstanding work. We are now kind of taking a step forward and looking to create a dedicated library media studies program at the 5-6 school. We'll talk a little bit more in detail in a second. The other opportunity is wellness. So at Gilbert H. Hood, we had originally 2 computer teachers scheduled to be in that school. One of them retired. So we're going to continue to have a computer curriculum along with tech ed curriculum, which is kind of STEM based. But our plan is to create a wellness program. So, and that program will meet a lot of the health curriculum requirements that are required by the state, which we can talk a little bit about how we currently do that. We do not currently have a wellness program for our students. So just to get real, this is a little bit of nitty-gritty detail, but our library media studies program would be focusing on these kind of 6 course priorities. Some of this still needs to be developed with input from some faculty members. From our director of literacy did kind of a deep dive around the state and looked at other programs that have library media studies, looked at national standards in this area, and developed these 6 core pieces. Again, an increased focus on development of literacy. I don't want to scare anybody, but research is becoming more and more complicated in the modern connected world with AI and all the other tools. We need to be teaching our students from a really early age how to use these tools appropriately and effectively as they're doing more and more technical and academic writing. And the second course, wellness, these are the course priorities that we identified. I'll cut right to the chase. These are the 6 required course priorities in ED 306.40 and RSA 18910. We are required to teach these topics to our students. So right now, we do address these topics, but we address them in a myriad of different ways. So we don't have a health or wellness program in our district K-8 right now. So students get some of this through the guidance counselors. They get some of it through PE classes. They get some of it through the family and consumer science class. And they get some of it even through life science biology that most of our students take when they're in 7th grade. So what this will do is it'll allow us to have a very focused, consistent approach to wellness for our students at the 7th and 8th grade level. Just thinking about the world in which our children are in right now, I don't want to minimize the differences, because our kids are faced with health challenges that I know I didn't face when I was a kid. Vaping is probably the easiest example, right? That stands before our children. A product that some argue is actually marketed to children, and a large percentage of our public has convinced themselves that it's safe and healthy, and we need to really get on top of that and ensure that our kids have a really strong understanding of the dangers associated with that and other behaviors. The other piece, just to put it up here, one of the concerns, about wellness is, will parents have the opportunity to be notified of the topics that are discussed and the option to opt out? So we already have a parent notification policy in our policy handbook that aligns with the state requirements regarding giving families both the notification, timely notification, at least 2 weeks notice of any topics around human sexuality, and the option to opt out. So there's a technical advisory that was put out by the state, which it actually directly aligns with our policy that we already have in place. So I know that that's sometimes a concern that people have, but we think it's really, really, we can mitigate that concern with our practices and procedures here, but we owe it to our kids to do this. So I think that's the last slide for those pieces. Wanted to see if you had any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Joe or for Kim?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's, I know we talked about this in our curriculum subcommittee meeting. It's good to see, new opportunities for classes to be offered to our students. I think, we talk about, Kim mentioned the early release days and being able to utilize those effectively. And yeah, there is a lot of change that's going on, whether that's our curriculum that's changing or potential changes to facilities that our kids are going to be in, as well as, the different opportunities that they're going to have. So, yeah, you continue to appreciate that we continue to inspect those, continue to have these conversations and offer new opportunities as well. So yeah, I think this is all really good stuff. One of the things we talked about from the subcommittee is coming out with figuring out what we want to see from a dashboard perspective relating to curriculum. And so we're going to pair that with our strategic planning company, G&D, as well. So that might be a good segue to the next topic, which happens to be, but before we do that, yeah, go ahead, David.
No, I just want to say that, I think when we met during one of our fiscal advisory committee meetings or prior to that, you guys did a presentation on the maths, and this is night and day, which is great to see, and very encouraging, obviously, and it's great that you identified the issues with reading and you know where to attack it. So I think whether it's facilities, now education, we're seeing a trajectory of improvement and going in the right direction, and that we all can be proud of and continue to motivate us to move forward, or motivate you guys to move forward in that case. So I'm really grateful for that, and I think, in 2 years, whatever it's been, or it's longer for some, but we're seeing some good progress and growth in many areas, not just the one we talk about every single meeting. So I'm happy to see that. So thank you very much, and thank you for everybody who contributes, whether it's in the schools, up here, administrators, administration. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that. And I enjoy hearing the curriculum updates. David is right. We do talk about the same things a lot. They dominate the conversation. So, yeah, I would like to hear more curriculum updates so we can actually hear, how well our kids are doing instead of, talking about money and buildings.
I just want to say one other thing is that we also, our teachers are going through a lot of professional development, and I have to hand it to them. It's hours and hours of work. There's 149 educators going through the letters training. There is 49 of our educators went over the summer for a 4-day intensive training on OGAP, which is math. So they are doing it. They're doing book studies. It really is, and it's all dedicated time that they are coming back to the classrooms. They are looking at their data and they're instructing, and that is really helping us move.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand how much training the teachers do and how often things change. That's something that, I think we could probably talk about, more frequently. Teachers are expected to do a lot.
And in our visits to the schools, we're hearing from the teachers, they're doing OGAP, and they're doing letters, and they're doing the phonics, and they're seeing the kids show this kind of the improvement that you're seeing in the data. They're seeing it firsthand, and they're getting excited about it, and it's so good to see.
I just wanted to kind of spin off from what Joe said as far as the logic behind the library and media, and how that the world is changing, and how we access that information and the type of information that's out there, and controlling the credibility of it and things like that. But this is where Austin's going to say, how many more meetings does this guy have? I'm going to get rid of him. I just want to say along the same lines, and I'm going to put my pitch in again for how many years now, that we have to look at the development of rapid development and changes in technology the same way. And I think that design, engineering, that type of thing is something that has to be systemic throughout throughout the entire curriculum, probably starting with a more robust effort in around 3rd grade, and then, of course, continuing right through 8th grade. And then, of course, Pinkerton has currently a pretty good program there for that. And I think that if we recognize how that basically everything has been changing at a much more rapid and not just rapid, but accelerating pace, that we need to look at that, all those things in the same, under the same microscope or through the same lens, I think. So that's my pitch for the tech ed, is that it, once again, shouldn't be a nice to have fun thing. It should be something that's part of the science, math, engineering, and technology. But that's you've heard that before, I'm sure, for me.
If I could get one more word in, that you just reminded me of something, Paul, okay? 2 things, actually, that I forgot to say. I blame Kim, but I forgot to say this. So one, this health and wellness curriculum program really was the brainchild of the administrative staff at Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. So they approached us, came to us and said, listen, we're looking at this and we want to really diversify the options for our kids. And we really believe strongly that our 7th and 8th grade adolescents need this. So I didn't want that to be lost. Sometimes I just ramble and I don't tell you where ideas came from, and I don't think anybody needs credit, but I think it's important because sometimes people think this is like the Joe and Kim show. We're just the people that have to stay here tonight and tell you about it. There were lots of people that did all this work on the back end, right? So I think that's important. The other piece, again, because I ramble and I might have misconstrued something to somebody, or somebody might have misunderstood, are both of these are teacher positions. We're not cutting any positions. Where these are 2 people that retired and we have openings, and we're just changing them to different openings. Because I know I said quickly that our library program at the elementary school has assistants in the libraries, which is true, and that's not changing. But this position at the 5-6 school is a library media specialist, which is a teaching position. Just wanted to clarify those 2 pieces.
All right. As I said many minutes ago, I had a good segue to a strategic planning agenda item, but I don't anymore. So here we are. Joe, okay,
all right, quick. This is not a long, this is just an update. So as you all know, you selected a strategic planning company. We've sort of reached out. We've started the work with them. The first step was they sent us a document request, which is a request for lots of different types of information about our district. It's all public information, but it's stuff that helps them understand our past and our present so that they can help us plan for the future. So we have been uploading documents to this portal to give the facilitators lots of good information. We uploaded our most recent strategic plan, which I think was from 2013. It was a while ago. So we did upload our most recent strategic plan so they could take a look at it. On Thursday, I believe Jonathan, Austin, and I will be meeting with one of the facilitators to do sort of an initial planning meeting. We're gonna be talking about stakeholder outreach. So who are the groups of people that we need to connect with? We're going to be talking a little bit about surveys that will go out to community members to kind of kick off the planning and work. So they're really in the information gathering stage right now, trying to learn as much as they can about our school, our district, our community, and the views of stakeholders. So that's pretty exciting stuff. So my assumption is that in the near future, there are going to be some surveys and some forums that will be scheduled to try to gather input from stakeholders. So that's where we're at right now.
Perfect. All right. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which sits with Jane and the business administrator update.
Okay, I've included in your packet as part of the business administrator update just some informational areas with regards to revenue. I recently completed our Primex exposure updates, which we have to do every year for property and liability, workman's comp, and unemployment compensation. And I do that each year so they can give us an accurate amount to use for billing. And we also completed and generated all of our W-2s and 1099 for our staff and our vendors. I've included the revenues. You can see there's really nothing that's too surprising right now. I just talked to Laura about Medicaid, that she's working really hard on that. And we still have some revenues that are still coming in, although we haven't, we haven't had as many the rentals have just kind of gone down over the last couple of years, but so you won't see as much as that. We're still waiting to receive our E-rate, which I know we do have coming, just haven't received it yet. But otherwise, I don't think there's anything surprising with regards to revenues. The next chart is a list of year-to-date expenditures by object code and encumbrances. Right now, we're showing a 1.3 million of unspent funds. I just received the latest Pinkerton budget, so the latest Pinkerton bill, so it's not reflected in this or the manifest that you're going to approve tonight. But when I went through and looked at the numbers, it looks like we are being billed for 33 less students than we have budgeted, 45 less resource students than are budgeted, and for HiSET, ACT, passes, and those are 4 less students overall combined. I didn't calculate out what the cost is on that, but since we just got it, I brought it here tonight, I just wanted to give you an update. That will be reflected in your next manifest. And further down, we have the treasurer's report showing what the bank statements are and the reconciliations. And then below that, I've included the unassigned fund balance calculations. Again, those are really just rough numbers as we're going into spring. Liz has been working really hard on closing out purchase orders so that we have accurate numbers. And then in my report, I've been having both department heads, Christina Lebelzik, the Director of Child Nutrition, and Jeremy Lamoth, our Director of Facilities, have both been putting their own reports in here. Christina just wants to mention that they're working really hard trying to get the unpaid meal balances down. Of the 32,000 that is outstanding right now, 11.8% are students who are on free status, 9.23% are students who are on reduced status, and the remaining outstanding balance are for students who don't fall within one of those qualifications. They are paid students, and there's about almost 79% of those outstanding. Christina has been sending out emails and including me on the emails of trying to create payment plans or seeing how they can collect some of these outstanding balances. That's a priority for us, but also still making sure that families who qualify for free and reduced are getting assistance, either filling out the application. Christina actually just started a child nutrition Facebook page. She has been extremely active on it. She's got some really amazing posts that she's been doing, highlighting our kitchen and our food service, as well as encouraging and sending the links for people to fill out free and reduced applications. I also just want to point out, she's been looking at vending machines for the 2 middle schools for the snacks. Right now, students go up to a staff member and purchase snacks. They can either use their meal card or pay cash. Lines are really long. Kids are not able to get through the regular lunch line, and or also get a snack that they want to get. And then we also don't have snacks available after school. And we have a lot of our students who are participating in after-school activities who are still hungry. So she's been looking at a snack vending machine, to start with both middle schools that would be in the cafeterias. One of the vendors that we could go with connects to our point-of-sale system, so a student can take their lunch card and put it into the machine and get their snacks, and or pay cash. We're debating on whether we would go with the credit card availability as well, but we know we have events that happen on the weekends, and we could, the food service program can make some money off of selling snacks on the weekend as well. But we'd have to work out, we'd send notifications home to parents about that their cards would be able to be used, so we're looking at that. And Christina did watch a demonstration. There are many schools that are using that. And because right now it's a bit of a backup in the middle schools for kids trying to get snacks. All of the snacks that would be in the machines are still what they consider smart snacks by the federal nutrition guidelines that we have to sell. They have to be whole grain and, you know, within the amount of sugar. So anything in the vending machine would fall within the same snacks that she's selling in the food service program currently. So we will be looking at bringing that to you once she finalizes the information. Again, in my presentation, we talk about her Facebook page. This has been pretty awesome. I also included holiday or like these particular staff members, Ashley Foley, Cassie Uliani, and Lisa Shabbat, dressed up for the 100 Days of School celebration, and they make their own T-shirts and celebrate. And if you go into any of our kitchens, you can always see what an amazing job the kitchen staff members do to promote an inviting area for our students to want to come in there and get a healthy meal. So thank you to Christina and all of her staff. Moving on to facilities. Prior to us doing this update, we did have sewer issues at West Rhinenbrook and Derry Village. That did require, now before we call a vendor to come in and do water jetting and snaking, our staff have already tried doing all the snaking that they can do, and when it gets too bad, we have to bring in the experts. So that costs about $2,000 for the first initial visit, and while they were cleared up and there were roots that were removed out of the Derry Village plumbing, a return visit is scheduled for West Runningbrook, and that's an additional $2,000, and they're going to be doing it over the vacation. So those are very costly. Just some of the issues that are happening at some of the schools are things that are getting flushed into our septic system. So we're working, administration are going to be talking to students about not flushing things that shouldn't be going down toilets. Costs us the district a lot of money. And again, just a reminder that they'll be working in the classrooms at Gilbert H. Hood. We like to highlight some of the pictures. I think Jeremy and Rob, I drive them nuts because everything they go out and do, I'm like, get a picture? You got pictures of that, videos? So they've now gotten used to me, and I said, you know, they really like it when we bring pictures so people can see what we're doing in the facilities department. We did purchase a new tractor. You know, at West Runningbrook, we have 5 pickup trucks in our district. They all plow. Several of them do sanding. But for all of the 9 properties, if you include the warehouse and the SAU, they have 9 properties, 5 pickup trucks. That's a lot of plowing to do all of those parking lots. So they did have it in their maintenance plan to purchase an additional tractor. So that's the one that's currently located up at West Runningbrook to be able to clear those sidewalks in a timely manner. And the custodians there are pretty happy about it. They do have snow blowers, but this has made they're probably wishing they had more snow because they've only been able to use their tractor once. When we get new things like that, it's fun to use, right? We also want to show some of the work. A lot of these guys probably don't even know they're trying to conceal who they are, but these are our guys who are in there doing work, repairing the plumbing at South Range, replacing an existing fire department master box with a modern cellular communicator in one of our schools. The kiln at Gilbert H. Hood has been replaced, and they also installed new ventilation system, and they're doing the same thing over at West Runningbrook. And a circulator pump at Derry Village was being reinstalled after being rebuilt. And again, these are our staff members who are doing a lot of this work. And they replaced a motor starter and magnetic contactor on an ant handler at Ernest P. Barca. So hopefully by showing these, you can see, or people who are watching can see all of the work that we are. There was somebody earlier, maybe it was Joe or Austin, talked about. There's a lot of work that gets done every day in our district with facilities, and our staff are very skilled, and they do try to repair as much as they can in-house. Again, we do have an electrician on staff, so that helps to be able to do a lot of these things, and they can do the minor repairs before trying to call in a contractor, and keep our buildings as operable as they have been. So thank you to all of our guys in the maintenance department and our custodial staff. Any questions?
Just one, Jane. On the 32,000, I know obviously you're getting collections that are coming in. Are you seeing it still rise? The cost still rising?
You mean of outstanding debt?
Yeah.
Yeah, people will pay them off, and then they just accumulate again. The letters that Christina's sending out now, she's requesting that, what I did is I told her to target the people whose children are continuing to go through the line with no attempt to make any payments. And so I'm on the emails of those people, and she's trying to get anything from them. And in the body of the email, she says, we've noticed you have not made any payment, although your child continues to go through our lunch line. Please, as of whatever the date may be, please do not ask Kim to not access the lunch line, and please have them bring in a meal. Because it's hundreds of dollars as some of these families. So she is really aggressively tries to help them access free and reduced for those that are on it. Unfortunately, just based on what the guidelines are now, I think that parents struggle. They don't meet those guidelines. That's, costs are going up, and so those people that are right on the cusp, we do what we can to get them qualified, but, maybe those guidelines will change at some point, but yeah. Oh, you can.
I just wanted to speak to the Medicaid reimbursement being down. We work with a company called MSB. They, at the beginning of the year, did a transition from an older system, which they call Legacy, to the new generation. The new generation has not been going very well. It is full of glitches. They're really struggling with that. Staff is continuing to record. We are, working out bugs with them. We're kind of always on the company. They are aware of the problems and are working to fix them. We do have a year to do that billing, so we're hoping that it eventually catches up as they fix things, but that explains the deficit right now. I think we're recording as much as we have in the past couple of years, so we're hoping to see an increase in that coming forward. But it's more systematic than it is us. Our staff is working diligently on trying to kind of fight the bugs of the program and work around them and keep other records, and I thank them for that, because they do work diligently on it, and it's very frustrating, so.
Question about that. I guess the first thing that pops in my head, is there any consideration to revert back to the legacy program that actually worked well for us?
Well, it's the same company, so I don't think they're willing to throw in the towel and go backwards, but we will see. I've talked to the company over this year as far as working out bugs, and we have a lot going on and a lot of transitions happening, so opening up another system for Medicaid reimbursement, I think would kind of push people over the edge, so I'll give them the time to kind of catch up on the glitches, and have been very upfront with the company that if they aren't able to kind of catch up with themselves within this school year, we'll be looking at finding another company to work with, because that reimbursement is too important to the district.
All right. Any other questions for Jean? No? All right. Austin, I think we've got a retirement and.
Yes. We do have some personnel tonight. A retirement, Russ Hamilton, social studies teacher at Gilbert H. Hood Middle School. Please vote to accept this with regret.
I'd entertain a motion to accept the retirement.
Move to accept the retirement with regret. Thank you for your service to the district and to the students. Appreciate it.
First by Jason. Second by David. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
And we have one nomination. This person is substituting already, and right after this nomination, we'll begin immediately. Sarah Mazer at the Ernest P. Barker Elementary School Special Education teacher. Please vote to accept this nomination.
We have a first to accept the nomination by David.
Second.
Second by Jason. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We'll stick with you, Austin, on superintendent update.
Okay. I would like to begin by mentioning the passing of Edward Bureau, a longtime resident here in Derry. He was a Pinkerton Academy trustee for 26 years, and he was the school moderator for the Derry Cooperative School District for 28 years. Mr. Bureau died peacefully last weekend at the age of 93. Please observe a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. Just this afternoon, I had the pleasure of once again refereeing the annual Gilbert H. Hood Middle School staff versus student basketball game. Back in my younger days when I was the Hood principal, I even played in these games, but those days are definitely past me now. It's hard enough moving back and forth across the center line as a referee with these two old knees of mine. Anyway, it was great to see so many staff members interacting with students in such a different way. The student players really enjoyed the competition they had with some of their teachers, assistants, and administrators, and students watching in the stands love these interactions as well. School administrators, teachers, and other staff do these types of events in all of our schools, and it gives the students a chance to see staff in a different light. This helps to build a healthy school climate, very positive relationships, and of course, it is a great deal of fun as well for students and for staff. I want to say thank you to all of our staff, not just the staff at Gilbert H. Hood that we saw today. By the way, Mr. Crawford, I believe, ran the scoreboard exceptionally well. I don't know why the old guys running back and forth on the court and the new guys sitting down behind the scoreboard, but, you know, maybe we'll work on that for next year. But I want to thank all the staff who give their extra time and effort to make these extra type of learning experiences for our students more engaging and exciting and worthwhile. Scarlett Lewis founded Choose Love after her son was murdered during Sandy Hook Elementary School's tragedy in December 2012, which remains one of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history. At 6 years old, her son Jesse was killed alongside 19 first-grade classmates and 6 adults, the adult educators. The Choose Love movement is based on 3 principles: nurturing, the development of kindness and gratitude; healing, which is the importance of forgiveness; and love, which deals with compassion and action. There is currently a bill in the New Hampshire legislature that would ban Choose Love curriculum from New Hampshire schools. Along with not being able to wrap my mind around why we would not want children to at least have the opportunity to be exposed to these 3 important principles, by banning Choose Love completely, we infringe on the rights of other parents who may want their children to receive this information as part of their school experience. With this in mind, I would like to speak about parent rights versus parental responsibility and opting out versus opting in. As the superintendent of Derry schools, I am a passionate advocate for the future of all Derry children. Our educational system is built upon fundamental principles of providing every child with the opportunity to thrive and succeed. However, as we navigate this intricate landscape of education policy, it is crucial to remember that with the rights that are granted to parents, there must also come a profound sense of responsibility. Parents are undeniably the first and by far the most influential people in a child's life. They hold the key to unlock their child's potential and shape their child's future. With this influence also comes a great responsibility. The responsibility to actively participate in their child's education, to support their academic endeavors, and to instill in their child values such as diligence, honesty, and respect. While we champion parental involvement in their child's education, it is imperative that we also recognize that these rights are not without some boundaries. Just as parents have the right to make decisions concerning their child's schooling, those decisions should not infringe on the rights of other parents who may have different opinions or have different points of view. As educators, we recognize the diversity of beliefs and values within our communities. We respect the rights of parents to be actively engaged in their child's education, including the ability to opt out of certain curriculum components they may find objectionable. However, we must also underscore the significance of responsibility in this process. Opting out of curriculum should not equate to banning certain topics or perspectives from being taught in our schools. Instead, it should be viewed as an individual choice that reflects a parent's values and preferences for their child's education. Placing the responsibility on parents to opt out rather than forcing them to opt in upholds the principles of academic freedom and intellectual exploration. Banning certain curriculum, reading material, or programs by requiring parents to opt in sets in a very dangerous precedent that undermines the integrity of our educational system. It limits the exposure of students to diverse ideas, stifles critical thinking, impedes their ability to engage with complex issues facing our society. Education should be a platform for dialogue, debate, and exchange of ideas, not a tool for censorship or ideological conformity. Furthermore, mandating parental opting in for curriculum places an undue burden on educators and school administrators. It creates logistic challenges, increases administrative overhead, and detracts from the primary focus of providing a high-quality education to our students. Our lawmakers have the power to enact policies that empower parents in their role as advocates for their children. However, with this power comes the duty to ensure that these policies are balanced and equitable, serving the best interests of all children. We must work together to foster a culture of open communication and collaboration between our parents, our educators, community members, and policy makers. A culture where the rights of parents are respected and upheld, but also where the responsibilities that come with those rights are equally emphasized and fulfilled. We should strive to develop an inclusive learning environment that respects the diversity of perspectives while also promoting the intellectual curiosity and academic excellence for all. Finally, I would like to give a little bit more of an update. Joe stole a little bit of my thunder, but kindergarten registration, I can't emphasize it enough. It is first come, first served for your neighborhood school. So please, a lot of people have been doing it. We're up to about 70%. We actually have 324 seats, according to the number of kindergarten teachers that we have right now. And some of the schools are starting to get a little bit closer to their capacity. So please, if you have a kindergarten student that's going to be starting next year, go to the SAU 10 website, click on the kindergarten registration link, and sign up your child today. Thank you.
Austin, I just had a question that I didn't realize, I wasn't aware of the fact that Choose Love curriculum was being voted upon. If you have any information, could you put it out on an email to the board as far as any particulars at all, when it's coming up for a vote, hearings, whatever, and what the status of it is, if that's possible? And to the rest of my colleagues on the board, I would encourage all of us to keep track of what the voting record of our 10 representatives is on that particular bill. I think that that's important to look at and find out why people vote as they do, whether it's one way or the other.
So the short answer is yes. I would like to think that this is not a popular bill. You know, there's so many bills that get put out there, and a lot of them go by the wayside, thank goodness for some of them. But the New Hampshire School Board Association, the New Hampshire School Administrators Association, they have a lot of active participants. My colleagues on the superintendents go to the legislation as well. So hopefully between those two organizations, I'll hear when that is coming up. Kearney said he might be aware of when that's happening so that we can let you folks know. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we have a February 1st enrollment report and FYIs as well. Anyone have any thoughts, questions, comments for that? Nope. All right, we will move on to committees. We'll start with the manifest.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the manifest in the amount of $2,222,801.72 be moved, consisting of a general payroll of $1,230,410.33 and general expense of $992,391.39.
First by Paul, second by David. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Does anyone have any other committee reports that they would like to update us on? No, I think we talked about quite a few, so I think we covered them all. All right, any other business that anybody wants to?
Yeah, next Tuesday, February 20th, we have our final community forum regarding the new school project, and I'm sure we'll be talking in great detail about the capital improvements as well. So that's at 7 p.m. at West Running Brook, Tuesday, February 20th. So I hope we get a good crowd. I hope we get a diverse crowd. So looking forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Any other new business?
It looks like that the Education Committee voted down the bill to ban social emotional learning by a vote of 19-1 in committee just today. But that happened just hours ago today.
I want to say it's a recommendation, but the full house still votes on it.
Yeah. I thought they had,
But I think it's
yeah,
a
you're right, recommend
recommendation coming out of
inexpedient to
committee.
legislate,
They
and the full
recommend it,
House,
and
right,
it gets
you're
voted
right.
down, but
So
the
it came
full
out of
House still
committee,
votes on it.
voted down, but it will go before the, right.
Jonathan, I was just going to say, 2 weeks ago, I represented the administration and the school board at the Pinkerton Time Committee meeting, and that was basically about, we were collecting data about busing times, and they're taking all that back and putting it together and crunching to see with the times, would anything actually be able to work? So that's what we spent 2 hours doing, was collecting data for busing times. That's where we're at. There's another meeting in March that I'll be going back to, and we'll find out more.
All right, thank you for that update, Cliff. Not seeing any other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. First by Kearney.
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.